You continue to be, in many ways, the most important living figure in Roswell. I guess our listeners, most of whom are familiar with your story, should get just a little bit of background. You were 11 years old. Your dad came home one night. But can you give us just, I know you've done this 1,000 times, but tell our listeners, we have new young people listening all the time who don't know the story, and just give a little background if you would, Jesse, please.
Sure. This is 1,001 times. Yeah,
okay.
My dad was the Air Force intelligence officer for the Roswell Army Airfield in 1947 when he was with the 509th Bomb Group, a composite group that, as you know, dropped the 2 nuclear weapons on Japan.
Right.
Yeah, and so he had a fairly high position in that thing because as the intelligence officer, he had to know everything that was going on. But as it turns out, there was a crash of some kind of a vehicle on a ranch outside of Roswell, on the Foster Ranch. So the rancher, got on his horse the next day and rode out and saw a lot of debris just scattered about there. The way my dad described it, it was maybe a half mile long by 3/4 mile wide. So there's a considerable amount of this debris.
Well, as base intelligence officer, I want to underscore the point that this military base was probably without equal in the world. It was the world's first nuclear-capable, nuclear-armed Army Air Force base. Later, of course, they split the services and it became the Air Force and the Army. But these are the best of the best. This is the cream of the crop.
They're all hand-picked individuals because, after all, they had a very important mission in the war. And with the 509th Bomb Group, we all know how that ended. But yes, they're hand-picked men for their training and their knowledge of aircraft and whatever. Was
your dad we say the first person there, the second person on the scene, the third person on the scene outside of Mac Brazel?
Well, of course, Mac Brazel was the first one, and I guess his son Bill Brazel was out there too. And I guess Mac had contacted the sheriff of Chavez County and had brought some debris in for the sheriff to see, and they didn't know what it was. So the sheriff said, well, why don't we just get this over to the Army Airfield there in Roswell, to the 509th. And so Colonel Blanchard, who was the base commander at the 509th, saw this debris and didn't know what the heck it was. So what he did, he dispatched my dad and CIC agent Sheridan Cavett out there to go ahead and recover some of the debris and bring it back to the base so they could get a better look at this.
They take pictures of it too.
They may have. I don't know. Well, I'm sure they would have. But I was not on the inside of that. But anyway, my dad did pick up representative portions of the debris, and I guess as did Sheridan Cavett. My dad was in our private automobile, 42 Buick Special. And Cavett was in I think a carry-on Army vehicle, and so they both went back to Roswell after they picked the debris up. And as it turns out, our house is on the way to the air base. So my dad, realizing that this is something very special, that he thought that my mother and myself should look at this. So what he did, even though it's about 1 o'clock in the morning by that time, he spread some debris out on the kitchen floor and woke my mother and myself up. And I thought, what the heck is he doing? He's coming back here at 1 o'clock in the morning.
So he stopped the Buick outside, came in, laid this stuff out on the floor, and woke up the family. All right.
Yep, he did. And he said, look at this, you'll never see anything like this again, which was true. And he was very excited. He thought this was parts of a flying saucer, or words to that effect. I myself didn't realize what a flying saucer was, but at looking at the debris, I realized this was something very special and probably not anything of human manufacture. So
Dad knew immediately when he saw the pieces out in the field that this was nothing from the military.
Yeah, he was familiar with all kind of aircraft.
Yeah, it had to be, of course.
With the accident investigation team and so forth. So he was in on the inside of all kind of military aircraft and realized this is not one of those.
So you're 11 years old. You're sleepy. Did you stay sleepy for long, or did you wake right up?
No, his excitement caught on. And
I would think.
Yeah, it got my attention, to tell you the truth. His first thing that he told us was, look at this and tell me what you think, and look for any electronic debris like vacuum tubes, resistors, condensers, or wires. But there wasn't anything like that. And he already knew, but he wanted me to satisfy my own curiosity there.
That's a good dad. That's very interesting to challenge you like that. Very smart.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure, let you know what he thought.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot of metal debris, foil-like things, and beams, metal-type beams. And the strangest thing with the beams, they had symbols along the inside surface.
No question in your mind, these were they like stamped in there somehow or engraved? Do you remember anything like that? Or
I don't know what they were. I do realize they were imprinted on the inside surface of this, like an I-beam.
Yeah.
And I thought at first they might have been Egyptian hieroglyphics, but they weren't anything like that. But I do recall the color. They were very, like a light violet hue, semi-reflective of light. Because I held one of the beams up over my shoulder, and the kitchen light was above my shoulder on the left side, and it would reflect back on it. So I don't know if this was embossed or whatever.
That sounds pretty. So the characters themselves had a light violet hue to them. So did I hear that right, Jesse? That the characters themselves had a different color than the I-beam?
Oh yeah, the I-beam itself was like a metal, a gray gunmetal color, aluminum, or it was not shiny or anything like that. But the symbols themselves were violet, purple, semi-reflective of light, and they looked like mathematical symbols or geometric symbols, like oblate spheroids, triangles, squares, any kind of combination of that, kind of imprinted on the inner edge. I don't know whether they were actually embossed or whatever, but that's what they were.
And how heavy were these I-beam pieces? How big were they? How long were they?
Well, the one I had was about 12 to 18 inches long and had about 3/4 of an inch in cross-sectional diameter. And it was very light. You could tell that, almost like there was nothing in your hands.
Don't you wish you still had it?
If I did, if I'd kept a piece, I would not have it now.
I hear that. We've had so many people over the years say the same. Well, I had a piece, and they came, knocked on the door, and it's gone. That's the way they do it.
That's exactly what happened.
They know exactly where these things are and where they go.
How much of an impact?
Did you have any idea at age 11 that what you were looking at? I mean, kids at 11 don't usually think too far ahead. I mean, they're absorbed with each day. But as the years went by and you knew this story wasn't going away, I guess you kind of thought it might be part of your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Well, it was a game changer, like Dylan says, and what it did for me is to make me realize that our planet is just one planet among many that are inhabited by civilized people.
Oh, sure.
And obviously, some of these are more advanced than we are because they get here from wherever they come from, and I'd sure like to know where they come from. But what it did, it made me very interested in astronomy and cosmology because I realized that, hey, there's others out there. And the other thing it did for me, too, was, I was not a real religious guy at 11 years old, but it sure did make me feel that, God is really who He is. He's omnipotent, and He made more than just us.
He made a lot more than just us. My question is, it's not so much where they come from. Obviously, just our galaxy alone probably has thousands, if not tens of thousands, of inhabited planets with
bet it does.
Intelligent life forms of one degree or another. But why would, I guess, this is such a freak show here. I mean, if I were from another planet, I'd run tours here. You'd go watch these lunatics on this planet destroying their home, which is what we're doing. Not to mention ourselves. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, my feeling is, we're relatively primitive compared to them. And I guess they're like scientists observing like an ant colony.
Yeah.
Is it going to destroy itself, or is it going to continue to evolve into into a more peaceful situation? And God only knows, war is horrible, and I just got my fill of it in Iraq.